Now it's 2 o'clock exactly.
Okay.
And so we can start. And this morning, and we will have 2 lectures. And you are the Professor Lava Rucker is the first speaker. I just introduce you, Lava. Graduated from Universidad de Cordoba, Spain, has a significant experience in biomass and the waste valorization practices to materials, fuels, and chemicals, as well as nanoscale chemistry, green chemistry, and catalysis. Lava is very young, and I just speak to our students and publish the publication, more than 600 publications, H index 93, citation 30,000, 7 patents, and also this is the editor-in-chief of molecular catalysis. It is elsewhere journal, and serving as editorial board of more than 10 Q1 journals such as RSC, Relay, ACS, and elsewhere. And Professor Lava, also named as most cited researcher from 2018 to 2022 every year by Clinic Weight Analytics. Professor Lava, and it's your turn. You can start now.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you just share your file.
Thank you very much, Zen. It's for me a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you for the kind invitation. I really appreciate it. And of course, from our long-term friendship, it's been quite a while actually since we have been able to see each other. I hope that you can see the slide now.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, fantastic. So it's been a pleasure for this almost late minute contribution because we were in touch, but I also discussed with you because of the timings and my traveling. I was happy to make it today for the event, and once again thank you to you and to the organization for giving me the opportunity to provide you a nice overview on our waste to valuables concept. So I hope you can still see my presentation because I don't know what is going on with my office. It's updating something, but okay. You can see my presentation still? Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay, good. So, right, because it should be here. Good. So this is an interesting topic that we have been developing in the past few years, waste valorization. So I think I'm going to share it again, just in case it doesn't share, because my Word was dating, and now I think it seems to be gone. Okay, good. Perfect. So I'm going to reshare again. And the topic of my presentation today will be a compilation of examples on the waste to wealth concept. That is something that we have developed in the past few years. It's coming now. So on the basis of waste valorization practices and biomass valorization towards valuables, chemicals, fuels, materials, and so on. So if you take a look at the images that I'm going to share in the coming slides, all of them, as you will be able to see, taken by myself in some of my trips. Unfortunately, some of them, as you see, from China also. These are evidences, some of them also from my own country. These are from Spain. Some of them evidence are that the model that we have been using for several years of producing, using, and disposing is actually becoming very obsolete. And we need to change our mindset in order to move to a more sustainable future based on the concept on the circular economy. And the concept of circular economy involves three important contributions on reusing, reducing, and recycling. But most importantly, we want to move also even beyond these basic circular economy practices. And what I wanted to bring here today to you all is the concept, of course, of valorization, where we want to be at the top of the pyramid in this very relevant concept in which we go beyond recycling, reducing, and replacing, and we harvest value from waste, from biomass, from several feedstocks, and we are able to generate a wide range of useful products, from biofuels to chemicals, biomaterials, energy carriers, and so on. An important concept of valorization takes also advantage of not only harvesting value from these feedstocks, but also, and most importantly, circumventing and minimizing the environmental hazards that some of these feedstocks have associated. And these feedstocks, in fact, this waste, this biomass, have some inherent problems related to their contamination and pollution to soil, to waters, microbial contamination, and odors, and many others. So the important hazards that are associated to these environmental impacts are something that we can also partially circumvent, or even in some cases completely eliminate by the concept of valorization, at the same time as harvesting waste from some of these starting materials. And from our understanding of this concept and of this proposed overall fractionation and overall valorization, we know that understanding and fundamental understanding on this chemical composition is key to succeed in order to devise strategies towards the valorization of these feedstocks. And for the example that I bring today here in the slide, which relates to lignocellulosics, we know that lignocellulosics contains several important fractions, including hemicellulose, including cellulose, including lignin, and other minor constituents. And in order to devise strategies to valorize lignocellulosics, we understand the composition of these C5, C6 sugars, C6 sugars, and aromatic compounds that are present, and we can devise different strategies for this fractionation and this valorization. And this is, in essence, the proposed waste to wealth concept, the proposed valorization concepts. And we can go all the way from residues from a wide range of waste feedstocks to a range of market products. And you see some of the examples are shown in here, but these are not only related to forestry waste, to plastic waste, to food waste, but in essence to any sort of biomass and waste valorization feedstock that through a range of nanocatalysis and green technologies, including flow chemistry, mechanochemistry, selective extraction, fractionation, and so on and so forth, we can turn into a wide range of high added value products. That includes, of course, not only personal care products, biodegradable plastics, chemicals, fuels, biomaterials, and so on, but a limited number of possibilities depending on the starting material. And for today's presentation, without aiming to be comprehensive, I wanted to provide examples from our research topics, not only related to biomass and waste valorization, but as you see also to nanoscale chemistry, heterogeneous catalysis, continuous flow processes, mechanochemistry, and so on, without aiming to be comprehensive, of course, but illustrating this with a couple of representative examples that I wanted to include and to discuss in the 15 to 20 minutes that I have left for my presentation today, that illustrate these ways to wealth, this valorization concept. And the examples that I wanted to bring, in fact, are significant collaboration efforts that I have the pleasure to have with some Chinese colleagues, with some Chinese cooperators and collaborators for a long time already, with my very good friend, Professor Xu from Jiangsu University, with my even long-time collaborator and very good friend, Professor Li Yingwei from South China University of Technology, although he's moving at the beginning of the new year to Tsinghua University. And this encompass efforts on waste to biomaterials and energy, and on a recent concept that we have been developing as part of these valorization efforts related to the waste to pharma concept that we have been recently working with in the design of active pharmaceutical ingredients from different types of biomass related waste materials. So on the first example, of course, it's 7 a.m. So my friend, my good friend, Professor Fang, will also understand that that I will give my kingdom for a coffee very soon. It's 7 a.m. here in Spain. So after you have the coffee that you see in there, you have one important leftover, one important waste feedstocks, that is the coffee waste grounds. That one of my students, Dali, that is now assistant professor at Università Ca' Foscari in Venice, in Italy. She combined with a suitable mechanochemical approach with different metals, particularly with iron as metal precursor, to design magnetic nanomaterials for a wide range of applications. So these magnetic nanomaterials she was able to utilize for CO2 conversion, for example. So if anyone is interested, at the end of my presentation, I have some additional slides on this CO2 conversion, CO2 sequestration. She was able to design these magnetic nanomaterials to work for catalysis, to work for relevant biomass-derived platform molecules conversion, for example, towards the production of vanillin. That was a relevant compound that was produced using these magnetic nanomaterials, as well as to the design of other types of nanomaterials using these magnetically separable systems. So this includes, of course, a wide range of possible materials that we have been developing using this mechanochemical step. And this mechanochemical step allows us to design a wide range of nanomaterials, perovskites that you're seeing here, metal organic frameworks, carbon nanomaterials, and bio-nanoconjugates for energy conversion and storage devices, supported metal and metal oxide nanoparticles that you see in there for a wide range of catalytic applications. And the applications, in essence, have been also varied, mostly in catalysis, but I have just said also in CO2 sequestration, in other types of biomass and waste conversion, in energy conversion and storage, as well as in environmental catalysis, in photocatalysis, in biocatalysis, and even electrocatalysis, using many of these sustainable technologies and the wide range of materials that you have seen. And the applications are varied, as you see in there, for flavoring molecules, perfumes, biofuels and fuel additives, pharmacophores, and agrochemicals, and many others. The key example that I always want to show that has been related to our intense collaboration with SUT and with my friend Professor Li Yingwei was the very much unprecedented effort that was covered in Science 4 years ago related to porous single crystal MOF materials for catalytic applications. And this encompassed a very simple approach that you see in the slides on the utilization of polystyrene beads towards the design of this Z-weight type of materials that encompass a unique porosity, including the microporosity that is inherent to the MOF and macroporosity that you nicely see in the slide generated from the removal of the actual template of the polystyrene beads. In addition, we found this to be single crystalline type of materials that had very useful applications in catalysis. As a continuation of these, joint efforts, we do have a similar templating type of approach that is currently under consideration. And we hope that we can have an update on this in the coming weeks. Moving on to other types of nanomaterials, we have also different possibilities to solve these pollution issues. And this is actually one example that illustrates the valorization concept from pig hairs that you see there to nanomaterials that are useful for the degradation of organic pollutants, of emerging pollutants in wastewaters. And this essentially covers the whole concept of valorization that I have explained in the first few slides. From a waste feedstock that you see in there, all the way to a material that can be used to treat pollution concerns and pollution issues that we have associated to some of these feedstocks, to some of these waste materials. So in essence, in here, the concept was to combine the sulfur that is contained in the hair, in my hair. I mean, in every single one of your hairs, we have a significant sulfur content from 1 to 5%. And with this significant sulfur content, we can actually extract this sulfur from the pig hairs and combine it with different metals. The combination with different metals, in particular copper, for the design of copper sulfide nanomaterials, allowed us to engineer this very useful photoactive material that could degrade different pollutants, including dyes, including phenolics, including antibiotics in wastewaters. And the beautiness of this protocol is that switching from material to material, I mean, switching from metals, we can design other types of materials, zinc sulfide, molybdenum sulfide, silver sulfide, for other types of applications. So silver sulfide for selective oxidations that you see in there for the selective conversion of toluene to benzaldehyde with a minimum production of benzoic acid. Again, using the same concept, zinc precursor, pig bristles to zinc sulfide. And for the sake of molybdenum sulfide, for example, this is a very good water splitting photocatalyst, while for silver, we were able to find composites of zero valence silver that was partially reduced and silver sulfide that was very useful for electrochemical and electrocatalytic HER hydrogen production, hydrogen evolution reaction. So this was very useful hydrogen evolution reaction that could be performed with this silver sulfide nanocomposites. Moving on to a relevant collaboration on the waste to energy concept that we had with my good friend Professor Xu. Starting from sewage sludge, in fact, we could develop a very nice concept that is useful for China. So this is why I'm bringing it here, because this is a very relevant concept that can be very potentially applied for China on the waste to the so-called artificial coal. So this is a hydrothermal carbonization that takes place from different feedstocks that you see in there, mostly lignocellulosics, in some cases other waste feedstocks, including sewage sludge, dried sewage sludge. And for these particular 4 points that you see in the slide, in which hydrothermal carbonization was performed at 260 degrees C and with the addition of an important oxidant that plays the role of removing some and degrading some of the proteins that are in sewage sludge and pushing this hydrothermal carbonization towards a highly qualified material, you see that we were able to obtain the so-called artificial coal with a calorific value that resembles very much that of coal. And this is close to 85% of the calorific value and of the properties of coal. It's a highly qualified material, it's an aromatized material that is currently achieved through the addition of this oxidant under hydrothermal carbonization conditions. And this was a very relevant concept that we developed with a group of my very good friend, close friend, Professor Xu, in which we have also been able to extend this concept to the design of a wide range of bioplastics and biofilms. We are currently working also on this, and there is a manuscript submitted to Green Chemistry and another one that is currently under submission. And we will be able to take this concept to the design of different biofilms with relevant properties, including tunable brittleness, tunable mechanical strength, and mechanical properties, as well as transparency. You see that in some cases we can design some Gordon-like films, but in other cases we can go to a more transparent type of concept depending on the type of application. Last but not least, in the last 5 minutes or so, because I don't have much time left, I would like to show you at least a brief flavor of the waste to pharma concept that we have been developing in recent years, that encompasses a holistic approach on the valorization of waste and biomass feedstocks towards advanced and active pharmaceutical ingredients, different drug type of compounds that you see in there that have relevant biological activities. The idea is to synthesize them from waste type of feedstocks, including humans. You're going to see the concept showcased in a second, encompassing also relevant efforts on the design of nanomaterials and nanocatalysts using mechanochemistry, flow chemical protocols, and as I mentioned earlier on, a whole integrated approach that considers sustainability, ecotoxicological, and techno-economic aspects. The first example that I want to bring here again, without being to be comprehensive, is the synthesis of ancarolol. That is an analog of the molecule atenolol, that, as you may know, is a compound that is extensively prescribed to patients that suffer from coronary diseases or any type of heart-related problems. And the good thing about this complex synthetic organic chemistry approach that we developed in this particular concept is the green side of the molecule, in which almost 60% of the molecule itself, as you see, is actually composed and derived from renewable resources. In this particular case, starting from glycerol, that is a side product of biodiesel production, and the furanic part, the furanic backbone that you see in there, derived in fact from humans. And for those that are not familiar to humans, I have one slide to quickly disclose the structure of human byproducts that we were using. And humans, in essence, are derived from polycondensed furanics from the dehydration of hexoses, pentoses, C6, and C5 sugars derived from plant waste materials. So these are very common in the production of furanics. For those that have been working with furanics and with levulinates, these are very relevant compounds. And the humans actually that we employ are chopped, so we depolymerize them. And this depolymerization actually derives from them.
Rafa, you still have 5 minutes.
Yes. I'm about to finish now. So this depolymerization leads to these furanics, and these furanics, in fact, are part of the synthetic side of the synthesis of ancarolol. This is not the only example that we have developed. Okay, I'm about to finish now. We have developed a wide range of examples already with compounds including prazosin, including furosemide, that is another very high added value compound that is used as diuretics, extensively prescribed as diuretic, and that I hope that I will be able to show you in the future, in the near future, in another possibility. This is in essence a summary of our concept. We want to be able to provide this vortex conversion, this conversion of different types of starting materials, waste, and biomass feedstocks to valuable APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients. If you are interested in this concept, of course, please do follow our updates on these 3 relevant large projects that we were recently granted in terms of funding. GreenX for drug, SUS Pharma, and Green Digi Pharma. From the names, you can already see that these, of course, are related to digitalization, sustainable pharma synthesis, and green and an anti-selective functionalization of different drugs, particularly related to bromination, fluorination, halogenation, green and anti-selective halogenations for drug synthesis. With this, my dear Professor Fang, I am at the end of my presentation. I hope I was able to convince you on the possibilities that we have on the biomass and waste conversion to useful to valuable products. On another presentation, I will be able to focus on a different aspect from some of these syntheses that are the greener credentials on nanomaterials design and nanomaterial synthesis, not only focusing on activity and selectivity, but also stability. But I hope today it was clear the potential of biomass and waste feedstocks towards a wide range of useful products, fuels, chemicals, materials, and so on, using the valorization concept. And this concept, in fact, as you see here at the bottom of the slide, with this money, is able to bring us to suitable green aspects for a more sustainable future, as well as additional revenues for companies and for academics, again, moving towards a more sustainable future. We found that actually the active sites, it's related to these very active and very well dispersed nodes of the metal that are contained in the final material. And the good thing about this, that is, I mean, everything is disclosed and described extensively in the paper, is that the unique micro and macro porosity combined with the single crystalline nature of the material itself allowed us to differentiate this material, as you see in the A at the bottom of the slide, from a conventionally synthesized MOF, a conventionally synthesized ZIF8, there is this ZIF8, utilizing the conventional means, that is a hydrothermal synthesis. So we found that not only the high dispersion of the metal that is coming, of course, from the MOF material and these uncoordinated sites, as well as the crystallinity and the unique porosity, make possible this type of reaction. So I hope I have answered your question.
Very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, Rafa. Thank you for your great presentation. I'm Chen Yu from the Professor Fang's group. We also done some work on lignocellulose. The main components of lignocellulose is cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. Nowadays, cellulose can make into paper, and hemicellulose can make into pharmaceutical products. But there's no commercial products for lignin. In your mind, can you, what is the future of the lignin? Can the lignin product be commercialized?
Okay, this is a very good question. Thank you. Well, this is changing. I have to say that this is changing, and there will be some commercial products actually derived from lignin very soon. So there are several groups worldwide, even some of them in China. So I have a very close colleague, Professor Yu He Liao, from the Guangdong Institute of Energy Conversion, close to, not very far from you, in Guangzhou. And they are already moving towards this lignin first concept that was developed by Professor Bert Sells in KU Leuven. He was a student of Bert, and he has been progressing significantly in this lignin first concept in China. And there are some other groups also in China. I have another very good friend from the north, from Dalian, Feng Wang, Professor Feng Wang, that is also been doing a very nice progress on this. And there are some products already from lignin. I have another very good friend, Professor Joseph Samek, that is also leading a company, Renfuel, that is generating actually high added value products from lignin. So this is changing. It's changing, and in the very near future, I would say within a couple of years, we will see already some commercial products produced from lignin. So lignin has a very, very high potential for the production of some of these commercial products in the future.
Okay, so thank you. There's a question in the chat. Can you read the chat?
Oh, yes, I will. Oh, yeah, sorry, I did not see. Okay, let me go to the chat. Yes, okay. Ali Dalian, okay, thank you for beautiful aesthetic capsules while focusing. Well, DG Pharma from where? Okay, good. That's a good question, Ali. So this is one of the important concepts that we have that we are currently developing. So digitalization of all these the waste to pharma concept. So it's something that we want to take to the next level. And of course, in order to do this, we are pushing towards the combination of different technologies, not only biomass and waste valorization, but other type of valuable technologies that includes digitalization and other types of IT and informatic related aspects that we want to take into consideration in order to provide, an industry-related possibility for this waste to pharma concept. I mean, at the moment we are just starting. So all these projects, with the exception of the first one, are European projects, large projects that we were granted this year. So one of them is actually even not started. So the Green DG Pharma will start actually in January. So we have not yet started. But we started with the SUS Pharma in September. That has been ongoing already for a couple of months. And this is progressing to the level in which we hope that the DG Pharma and this bio-waste valorization will provide us, with the tools for the generation of some relevant pharmaceutical compounds, APIs, in this particular concept. The focus will not be only molecules such as ancarolol and furosemide and all of this, but also we have an important focus on pet drugs. That is, a less restrictive market in Europe, particularly in terms of legislation and restrictions for purity and so on. So I hope I have answered your question, Ali.
Okay, any questions? Okay, please. No questions? Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Rafa. Thank you very much for your nice talk. And so
Thank
we
you
go to... okay.
Thank you very much.
Then we
Thank
go,
you.
Okay. Thank you. And then we go to next the speak. Professor Andre Kruse from Hohenheim. Hohenheim. Oh, sorry. And Professor Professor Kruse interests are focused on platform chemicals from biomass for old and new polymers, new carbon-rich materials from biomass, and fertilizers. And her current position is chair of the conversion technology and the life cycle assessment of renewable resources at University of Hohenheim, and guest scientist at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, Institute for Catalyst Research and Technology. So now you can start, and the first you can share your PowerPoint file.
I try.
Don't worry, we have plenty of time. And Dr. Dong, can you? Okay, we can see it.
You can see it.
Yes.
Also now the first slide with the title. Hello?
Yes, yes, we can see. Go ahead.
Okay, because I can't see you anymore. So thank you very much for the invitation. And I will talk to the about our Hohenheim on-farm biorefinery concept. What you see here is a vision, the vision where we want to go. We want to integrate biorefineries into farms. And this is a basic idea. So it's not only development, unit operation of a biorefinery, it's whole development of whole concepts. And this is a farm. The farm is a research station of the University of Hohenheim. And there we have a big biogas plant, which is important because this is a central element of the concept. And we have livestock farming, and we have the production of plants there. Also it's a farm, but it's also a part of the University of Hohenheim. And this is the whole concept. The central thing is the biogas plant. And what we are doing is that we combine this with different biorefineries or parts of a biorefinery. And the first thing is the conversion of the digestate. You have already heard before about hydrothermal carbonization, and this is the trick here. We have a biogas plant, and their manure and different kind of biomass comes in, and the digestate usually comes on the field. But this is problematic because we have in Germany a lot of phosphate in the soil, and we have an over-fertilization of phosphate if we put the digestate of a manure-based biogas plant on the field. What we are doing hydrothermal carbonization and then separate the phosphate as magnesium ammonium phosphate is right. And so we have a mineral fertilizer, and we have the carbon material for different application. We separate the fertilizer part and the carbon part because biomass is an important source of carbon. And we do this into until bend scale. Here you see the plan for the hydrothermal carbonization. And these are the separation and the precipitation of the struvite, which is a very, very good long release mineral fertilizer. After this, we pyrolyze the hydrochar to get special materials. And here you see the slow pyrolysis plant, and another is under construction. Now let's talk about one part which is before the biogas plant, is protein separation. We are in Germany, and I think not only in Germany, very much dependent on the import of soy, but this is a problem because from economics and also especially from the point of environment, because it's not so environmental friendly. The point is we can use normal grassland to feed horses or cows, but not chicken and other animals. And therefore, we separate the proteins from grassland plants, and we get the protein as feedstock for the animals, and the residues is further converted, for example, to our platform chemical. This is one important part of the biorefinery. And so what we are doing, we use the grass cat, then it's pressed, so it's a green biorefinery, and then from the juice, the protein is precipitated, dried, and we have the fodder, the feed for the animals. Here you can see a part of this equipment, and you also see the hall. It's our biorefinery hall on the farm, and here you can see how the gas goes in, and this is the separation unit. And on the farm, we have also the chickens eating the protein stuff. Now let's come to the chemical production, which is one of the main part of our research. Plants have carbohydrates, and you saw before one intermediate of hydrosomal carbonization is hydroxymethylfurfural. So, so we can convert sugars to hydroxymethylfurfural. Then further reacts to char by hydrosomal carbonization, or we stop the reaction there. And then we have a chemical called hydroxymethylfurfural. Here you can see this. And we have the possibility, we have a small pilot plant, not what you see here, this is the future, but we have a small pilot plant there, and the last year we produced roughly 30 kilos of HMF. So we are not talking about lab scale. This is bench scale. The next step would be to build really a production plant. If you are a chemist or not, you see the most important property of HMF. It has two active groups, and therefore you can produce a lot of polymers from that. By the way, it smells like caramel. And we can do this from different feedstock, everything who has some kind of carbohydrates. So we can do it with chicory roots, apple pomons, wood residues, grass, everything you can imagine, which has cellulose, hemicellulose, starch, or other kind of carbohydrates. And one big activity is the conversion of chicory roots. You see here the chicory growing, and the roots is waste. And this is a very nice feedstock. And all this is not in competition with food, and also we use biomass, which is only grown to protecting biodiversity. And here we have the extraction of the roots, and then the conversion of the sugars to HMF, and then the purification of the HMF. And you see here at the top the chicory, and we only use the roots. The other part is a salad for for humans. And here you can see the extractor, and the throughput is in the range to 1 to 20 kilo per hour. And here we extract the sugars out of the inulin. This is a separation, the synthesis unit. Here we can convert the sugars to HMF. And these are the separation units where we get the stuff which is pure enough for further conversion, for example. And these are the final products. You can really eat it, or it can be part of pharmaceuticals, but you can make a lot of polymers out of this. For example, bottles, clothes, and parts for cars, for example, or you can use it as a part of resins for plywood, chipboard, something like that. This looks a little bit complicated, but this is a whole concept. You only should look at one thing. You see the blue arrows and the black. And what we are doing, and this is important, we separate the nutrient part, proteins or nutrients in the sense of fertilizer, from the carbon. And the carbon is used for other purposes, for the production of plastics, or for example, carbon materials. And this is the trick. So we have a nutrient cycle which is closed in the on-farm biorefinery, and we have the carbon which is converted and goes then out of the farm to be used for different purposes. And in the end of the life of these materials, they are burnt and the CO2 comes back to the plants. So we have the small nutrient cycle and we have the large carbon cycle where we try to store the carbon as long as possible. Therefore, all the plastics via development are can be used for recycling. If we do this, if we have an on-farm biorefinery, we can fulfill all the need for a sustainable production. So we have low CO2 emission, we have low fertilizer water use, we are protecting biodiversity, we are environmental safe, all the processes are in water, green chemistry, we are not in competition with food, and very important, it is economic. We develop the process in the way that they are also economic in small scale. We overcome the hurdle of the economy of scale by development, the special technology. And we are strange in rural areas, which is also important. Here you see our biorefinery hall. It's open, so you can look in and see what we are doing. This is important because we want the farmers coming to the farm, to the research farm, to see what we are doing, so that they are more interested in this. I also want to say thanks everyone who gives us money, and of course our team at the University of Hohenheim. And this is my presentation.
Okay. Andre, many thanks for your nice presentation. Now, the questions. Any questions, please?
Hi, Professor Cruz. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. It's good to see some biomass application in Germany. So I have a simple question about the HMF. I see a typical process, the purity of the HMF product is from 40% to 90%. It's quite a big range. So what's the main issue for this large range of the HMF purity?
It depends how many, or if we use both separation units. And yes, it depends what you want to do with this. Usually it is converted to the furanic D-acid. So both parts are oxidized. And depending on the process, the purity you need is different. And we only make the purity in the way that, how can I say, we don't make it more pure we need. Because in the end, it would mean it is more expensive. Yeah.
So So it's
So
quite
eight-
controllable based on the final product, right?
Yeah, yes, of course. It depends if you use both separation units or only one.
Okay, thank you. Sir. And by the way, another simple question. So when the farm is fully operational, the maximum production capacity is what's the maximum production capacity for the bio?
Oh, usually we do it. We do it the other way around. So the idea is we have units, and we are looking for the feedstock we have, and then we have one HMF unit or two. That's simply the point. We are in the range of several thousand tons a year anyway. So, but this is the point. It depends. So, if we have, for example, the chicory roots, we have one place where we have the roots, and the size of the plant will fit to the biomass there. This is the idea behind.
Okay, thank you so much, Bruce. I see somebody also have questions on the chat, so maybe you can check with the chat. Thank you.
Let's see.
The question is he want to know the future frontiers for HMF and FCDA, and they want to know, do you have some suggestions for its selective oxidation via free radical mechanism?
In principle, we are not doing the oxidation, but in principle, we have three main pathways for the oxidation. One is oxidation, for example, at a gold catalyst, a chemical oxidation. On a catalyst, the second is electrochemical oxidation, and the third is a biochemical conversion. So an oxidation in the way of burning with free radicals usually is not the way applied. Usually it is done by on catalysts, by chemical pathway, or electrochemical. Is this the answer of the question?
I have one simple question. Thank you for your interesting presentation. Nowadays, our group are trying to deal with some municipal waste. Besides protein and fiber, there are some lipid in the waste. Previously, the lipid waste can be converted to biodiesel, but nowadays this process are not encouraged by our government. Is there any chemical we can transfer lipid to?
Yeah. We have done this. We have done extraction of lipid also. It's not so interested in the way you are right in our farm. It's more interesting for waste. We did this with, for example, dimethyl ether, because it can be completely removed. It is interesting in the way of algae to get special lipids, and there we have studied this. And for waste, it's also interesting. In this way, our focus was more to produce tensides, more normal washing material, let's say, by this lipids, because if it's waste, it's a little bit difficult to use it for food or feed. But you can make then a chemical conversion to get tensides, washing powder, shampoo, something like that.
Thank you.
And we still have a lot of time. Dr. Gao, do we have any questions?
Yeah. So Professor Cruz, so I was interested about the phosphate concentration. So in the process, because you see the phosphate is an issue for the farmer in Germany. So I previously have done some phosphate absorption, so doing the wastewater treatment. So I was wondering, what's the phosphate concentration in your process? So typical range and related information. Thank you.
We have, let's think. So important is we don't get the phosphate by absorption first. So we convert during hydrothermal carbonization everything to acid soluble phosphate. This is magnesium calcium phosphate, and then precipitate this as struvite, and we get 80% of the struvite. In the end, there are only a few percent of the material are phosphate. The content is relatively low. The point is that after hydrothermal carbonization, the phosphate is nearly completely a solid, but a solid which can be leached or solved by acids. And then we can separate the phosphate from the hydrochar and precipitate it as struvite. This is the point. I tell this because your process is a little bit different.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. You get it from the aqueous phase, but here first in the digest state, and in the hydrochar it's in the solid state, and then leached and precipitate. So this is simply the point. We don't get, or we don't like to get the phosphate from the aqueous phase, because in the case of digest state, it's not there.
Yeah.
It's in the solid.
Thank you so much. And also for the active carbon, so it's also the byproduct from the process. So they are very comparable with the commercial active carbon, or is like the normal biochar from the process.
We we can do a lot of different things. The easiest thing, simply, we have the hydrochar. This is not so many application, but usually we upgrade it by pyrolysis and activation, and we can go to activated coal for animal fodder applications, or for biogas, gas cleaning, and so on. And the quality is similar to commercial. And we have, but also we have activities to further upgrade it, for example, for electrodes for sodium ion batteries and so on. So special carbon materials. So there's a wide range. What we are usually doing is in larger scale, we simply make a pyrolysis with integrated activation to get activated coal, which is a product itself, and can be also used in agriculture. This is in the large scale. In small scale, everything you can imagine. Electrodes, superconductive materials, everything.
Yeah, that's good. I really like the biochar concept, because the biochar is carbon negative itself. So it's just concentrate the CO2 into the biochar and don't burn it. Thank you so much, Professor Cruz.
This is true. The problem in Germany is that the soil is so good in Germany that you can't improve the soil by biochar. This is a pity. Therefore, it's not so easy to convince the farmer to use it. Only carbon storage is not so interesting, like also to have the positive effects of biochar. But in Germany, it has nearly no effect, because the soil is relatively good. And the other point is, if you want to make carbon storage, you have to make pyrolysis after the hydrochar. because the hydrochar is biodegradable.
Yeah. Yes.
It's really true. The microorganisms in soil degrade hydrochar, but if you convert or treat it at higher temperature, then you
The cost, of course. Yeah.
it costs, yeah, not so much, yeah, but in other way you can store the carbon.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any questions? If no questions, I would like to say a few words before closing the symposium. First of all, many thanks to the many lecturers who took time out of their busy schedules to present topics of interest to all of us. Moreover, I would like to thank all participants for their interest and support during the symposium. Our symposium has lasted for 2 days, and it can be considered to be a tremendous success, according to 15 professors from Belgium, Canada, Germany, Italy, Japan, Malaysia, Spain, USA, and China, who shared the most recent research activities on biomass energy, bio-based materials, bio-based chemicals, biomass pyrolysis, biomass liquefaction, and on-farm biorefinery. We all benefited greatly by their insights, and we hope that through interaction and collaborations, that these topics will continue in their development. Science and technology are kind of wealth created in common by humankind. They must in turn serve the needs of all the people and work for the interests of the world. Prosperity, let's join hands and explore the boundless universe in quest of never-ending truth of science. Ladies and gentlemen, you have my best wishes for your still great achievements in your career of science. Now, I declare the conference closed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank
Have a
you.
good time. Congratulations.